And I'm going to read this little intro about our family boon, which reminds us that a boon is a source of great benefit, comfort, or blessing to one's innermost self, something that deeply nourishes, enriches, or restores a person emotionally or spiritually. A boon is a gift. And this is our little family oral history project. And which article would you like to start with? You want to start with Lynn and Lita today?
Sure. Well, I actually would like to, we can start on that particular topic, but I have a letter from my father that I wanted to share with people.
Great.
And I didn't give it to you as a photograph, but this is my father's handwriting.
How about that?
And it's so funny how our handwriting doesn't change our whole lives. It gets messier and different, but um, we always can recognize the handwriting of somebody we love. Maybe less now that we're not writing letters, but in the old days, we know each other's handwriting. So this letter was written by Papa Bill in 1978, when you were just little tiny kids. And he says, I have been rootsing around in our past and can't get back of grandfathers Tom Jefferson Brandon and wife and Escott Wilfred boys. So he's writing this letter to his brother Joe to find out what he has. And we don't know if Joe answered this letter, but we do know that Dad and Betty, or Papa Bill and Betty, did a whole lot of genealogy work. And he summed it up pretty well a few paragraphs later. He says to his brother, what brings on this nostalgia? Probably old age or the like, but it is fun digging around, both for personal satisfaction and for my kids and grandchildren. So the work he did is going to his kids and his grandchildren and maybe even his great grandchildren. So I thought it was kind of a fun thing to find.
I remember
I
when they
love
were doing.
that.
Pardon, Holly?
Go ahead, Hall.
I just said I love that. That's so perfect.
Isn't that sweet?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure is.
very
Yeah.
sweet. And just about this project too, so fun to see and hear.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. So yeah, there were just some more things I wanted to tell you all about um, with Lita and her brother Lynn. Um, we don't know a whole lot about Lynn. I don't anyway. We know that he was 4 years her senior. He was born in 72. And I found this wonderful letterhead from where he worked. Um, and I buried it under all these little pieces of paper, but I think I can show you. It says at the top, LD Brandon, and it's his business card, business paper, says painting and decorating contractor. And this is a letter from 1938. And was written in 38 because that's the year he died. And what I thought you might be interested in is that there were two obituaries written for him, one in Santa Monica, where he was born, and one in Wisconsin, where he had not lived for 40 years. But when he died, the people there heard about it and put an article in the paper about him. And they said some very sweet things about what a good person he was. He'll be remembered by his friends of earlier days as a young man of good character and ideals, active, kindly, companionable, most generous in his impulses, true and loyal in his friendships. Wouldn't we all love that kind of an obituary? And the obituary in Santa Monica was written by people that he was in a union with. He was a printer before he was a painter, but he belonged to a painting union. And so they refer to him in this obituary as brother. And we have a different view of unions these days, but they felt like brothers in the union and the fighting they did. And this is the piece of history that I was so excited to share with you. As I said, he died in 38. This little obituary was written in 38. And that was the year that they managed to pass the Fair Labor Standard Act. It was signed in 1938. That's when we started having a 40-hour work week and having to pay more for overtime. It didn't go into effect until 1940, the year Penny was born, but these people must have felt very close and happy together in 1938 because they've been working towards those goals for decades, literally decades. So I just thought that was a kind of an interesting little coincidence there. Um, I think we had a picture of Lita and her and Lynn when they were little kids. Did we have that one? It's okay if we don't. They look like little kids. Let's see, was there more I wanted you to tell you about him? It's sweet.
From the union.
There, that's Lita when she was a baby. Is she a cute little baby? Good cheeks on her, huh? And then is there one with the older brother, Heather? Yeah, there they are. Pretty
I
cute
see
little people.
I see Nori similarities in that baby picture.
You know what? I kind of thought that, but I didn't dare say it till
Oh,
the
I do.
real grandmother. The grandmother did.
I know she looks like her daddy, but boy, does that not look like Nori.
The
Big
eyes.
Yeah.
eyes. Yeah, that's pretty
Wow.
fun, isn't
And the
it?
very distinct frontal lobes.
Yeah, a big brain in there.
The baby engineer veterinarian. Yes.
Yeah. So, one more last thing on this obituary is they didn't just put the name of person, they put something poetic. And so the line for Lynn was veteran painter takes last call. Pretty kind of a sweet thing to say. Um, thank you for those pictures. A few things to say about Lita. Um, I have a couple of stories about her. Um, I told you that she did sewing for Hollywood. Well, the stories that I remember from my dad were, first of all, um, one day I was having a little fit and I was about 6 and I stomped through the living room with my nose in the air and marched sort of across the room. And out of the corner of my eye, I could see my father going, which was how he laughed. And I turned around and said, "What are you laughing about?" And he said, "When you're mad, you look just like my mother." Said that's how she would walk through the house when she was mad about something.
Genetic code.
Look, there's Harrison. Hi, Harrison.
Hey, Harrison.
Hello.
What a treat to see you.
I know. I figured I'd hop on. I just got back from the gym, so I figured I'd hop on.
Well, thanks for hopping on.
You're welcome. Thanks for doing this.
Sure. I was just talking about this person right here who was my dad's mother. Her name was Lita. That's what she looked like when she was little. And her brother is named Lynn. My father's middle name is Lynn, and so is Penny's middle name, Lynn.
All right.
So, did I tell you the story? I couldn't remember, and Heather didn't think I did, about that my grandmother Lita made toast in the oven because they didn't have toasters in those days.
Uh-uh.
And every morning, my dad said she burned it. And every morning she said, "Well, that's the first time I have ever done that."
You know, now that I hear that, I think I remember that story.
Okay. Well, it's a pretty cute story.
What'd you say, Justin? Wait, where's he at?
That's something that I've heard her say before.
Mom?
Me? You mean Holly. You mean Holly.
Yeah, that's what? That's never happened before. That's the first time.
The last little story that I heard about my grandmother, and tell me if I've told you this already, is when my mother was pregnant with me. I was like a whole month overdue, and both her mother, my grandmother Ruth, and grandmother Lita came and stayed with my mother and father for a month, waiting for me to pop out. And while they were there, they cleaned my mother's house for her very, very thoroughly. That might be what she looked like about then. Thank you, Penny. Thank you, Heather. Um, so they would go through the linen closet and they would mend all the things that had never been mended and sew on buttons. Then they washed and they ironed everything and they put everything back. And my mother kind of hid in her room and she was mortified. And I always wondered if that caused any ongoing friction because um, we didn't see much of Mama Lita. But the truth of it is, Mama Lita died in 1950 when I was 3. But I still remember my dad leaving to go to her funeral. And we didn't all go together. And I never knew why. And I never asked why. But we lived in the Bay Area and she lived in LA. But we didn't have much money. I don't know. But I still remember my father leaving because I didn't like his leaving and the sadness in the house of losing Mama Lita. I found the last Social Security check. They didn't call it that then, but it was called State Security Fund. So it was a California thing that she got in February of 1950. It just looks like a check, but it was returned because she had died. So that's one marker. She's buried in Los Angeles at a Forest Lawn Cemetery. So we maybe could find her there. And Lynn was buried in LA, but then they moved his body. I found a little bill to pay for moving him. I think they cremated him and sent him to Salem, Oregon, where their parents were also buried. So Lynn and Mary Dodge Brandon and Thomas Jefferson Brandon are all buried in Salem. And it's called something like City View Cemetery. So we could go find that sometime. That'd be fun. And I think that just might be all that I wanted to finish up on, but I bet I remember something else. And my silly cousin just sent me this much more to read. So there's letters, and at the bottom of it, there's some silver, and I'll have to ask her about it. I don't know about it, but I'm sure it's from a pirate's chest, don't you think? I think it's a pirate's chest. Okay, so that kind of takes care. Did anybody have any questions about those people or anything else about them?
I just wanted to note that we only made it 2 to 3 days with Kelsey while she was waiting for Nori to be born. So kudos to them for making it a month. And I remember that when Kelsey was born, especially that people came and cleaned, and I remember appreciating it.
Did I clean?
I don't know that you did, probably,
I
but
don't think so.
Joanne definitely did.
Yeah.
She found things I didn't know were there.
It is a little embarrassing, huh? But very nice,
No,
well intended.
I just remember this isn't supposed to be about me, but when you have people helping you, it's humbling, right? Like when you're like, oh, I think she's hungry, and I started to cry and was like, but I just fed her. So I think that it is a very vulnerable time for women if that really led to anything. But a
Yeah.
whole month is a dedicated showing of women and support when you have a baby.
I think so. I think that was
Yeah.
quite a gift. Yeah.
Yeah. And also something to be punished for. So yes, I see that.
Well, I did in one of the many letters that Joe and his mother exchanged. She said, well, Bill is sick and in bed now. And it's not a surprise because when he was going to law school, he had 2 jobs and went to night school for law school. So she said he was on a swing shift building a ship, and the ship was finished and everybody went to see it sail off. And he said to his boss, I want to work the day shift and I hope you can help me with the next thing. And he said, all right, you can start tomorrow. And so he worked till midnight and showed up at 6 or 4 or something the next morning on his day shift. So he got very sick. And but Lita said nicely in the letter, but Mavis is a wonderful nurse and I'm sure she'll take care of him.
No. Yeah.
Oh, that reminded me of another story about Lita when my father was so tired during those days, and she did come to visit, and that she and my mother and Penny and Dad were all at the dinner table. But Dad came from work, was going to school, and he fell asleep at the dinner table. And he slid down out of his chair under the table. He was that tired. And his mother was embarrassed for him. And she looked down at him and then she looked up in the sky and looked at no one and said, irresponsible fellow. That's pretty cute.
That is cute.
Yeah. Okay, so the next person we're talking about.
Mom, before you move on, I wanted to remind you of one thing that I just thought of because I had popped up this image here of
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I would have
of
forgotten that.
you with the unknown beautiful little girl. So I thought you might
Oh,
want to.
thank you for reminding me, Heather. Yeah, this is the picture of Lita, and we don't know who the little girl is, but it could be Penny, it could be our cousin Charlotte, who would be her granddaughter, or it could be me. And I love thinking that it was any of us because she's looking so sweetly and so lovingly at the little child. And we were all little towheads then, so we don't know who that was. But thank you, Heather. I think that might be the last of the pictures that I have of her in terms of her age. I
Yep.
appreciate that. So yeah, we have the different ages there as a baby. Uh-huh. And okay.
I hope you don't mind that I named this
No.
Holly. Joe Twerk.
There we go. Oh, that's so cute. All right. Yeah, that's his picture. Isn't that a great picture?
It is. Are you ready for this
Sure thing.
part? Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
great.
So this is Dad's big brother, and who had this very big name, S. Scott Brandon Boys. And so he went by Joe. Everybody called him Joe. And he did a lot of interesting things, but I want to tell you, I found his birth certificate. He's 5 years older than my dad, was born in 1910. And the birth certificate, you can't read it, so I didn't. Oh, I did send it. Yeah, what would I do without you? Anyway, on the top line up here, that word over in the last room there. First of all, I have to read this in the light. It has information about who he is, and I've thrown my glasses
Glasses
away
are right there.
there.
It looks like he was legitimate. I can't believe
That's
they
what it
asked
is.
that.
That's what I wanted you to see. That is on the birth certificate. Of course, there's only 2 genders, but then they say, is he legitimate? And it says, yes, he was legitimate. So I mean, hope we don't have to go back to that. It's like, whose business is that, huh? Yeah,
50% of us are legitimate.
50% of the time.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Give or take 50, 51, 50, 50.
Okay. Heather, did I give you the picture of Joe with the dad?
Yep.
Uh-huh. That's Escott, Wilfred Escott Brandon, my grandfather, and Joe, my uncle, when he was a skinny young man, like Harrison. We all used to be tall and thin, Harrison. You just don't
He
believe.
actually looks a little bit like Harrison there with the mustache and everything.
I'd say a pretty handsome fellow.
Yeah, he's been looking
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Um, anyway, that's kind of an interesting picture. I found a letter where Scott Wilfred says, I was so shocked and surprised to hear that you had gone to war. There's so many things I should have told you and wanted to tell you. And Harrison, I don't know if you knew this, but he was hurt. And I always thought he was a paraplegic, but he's standing there, but you can see he has a cane and is not standing too well. So when he got
A weak right side.
a weak right side, when he was hurt, he was hit in the head with a crane while working and hurt badly, and he went to live with his parents instead of staying with his family. And so sometimes I interpret these pictures and I'm thinking, is Joe's not looking at him as fondly as his dad is looking at him, but it could be nothing or everything. I don't know. But I hadn't seen that picture before and I was glad to see it. It was sweet.
He's got that widow's peak just like your dad.
Yeah, they both
Mhm.
did
And
have.
me. Yeah, I've got that one
Uh-huh.
too.
You do too. Now I have messed up all my notes.
Oh, shoot. I'm gonna have to wing it.
Wing it, wing it. All right. Well, I wanted to tell you, first of all, I thought, Harrison, you might be interested in this. When he was a private in the Army in World War II, they had different stationery that they used, and here's some examples of it. So that one was called the Enlisted Men's Club. And then this one is a little tiny envelope. Maybe if I hold it like this, you'll see how little it is compared to me. And the writing it's like a font 2. It's so so little. So they sent letters like this, probably saved postage. And then there's another one that's called a V mail for victory, as you know, and it folded up like this, but you could open it up like this and have a lot more room to write. And that has one of his famous drawings. He always drew, he was a cartoonist, so he drew this soldier, and the writing of it says, I wouldn't say it's really cold here. All I know is I woke up this morning and my field jacket was wearing my overcoat. And
Is this
so,
the one I have on the screen here?
yes, that's
Yeah.
that one. So, and so the little snowman is shivering and saying, me too. Even the snowman's cold. So Joe wrote so many letters while he was a soldier, to his mother, to his brother, my dad, and to a whole bunches of friends. This is another thing. I don't know if I included this. Did I, Heather? Yeah.
Right here.
Do you know why that's cut out?
Censored?
Censored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess they must have wanted to hide the specific name of the show. Right?
I don't
It says I
know.
managed to salvage out of the blank. Oh, how do you like the jazz? It's like yeah, I don't know what they hid there.
I don't know, but usually they were had to be very careful about saying where they were.
Oh,
They didn't want anybody it didn't want the Germans to know things, so they would read all the letters. And in one of the letters he said, and it was really hard because if they cut something out, they make you chew it up. But I think he made that up.
Probably. This is before the invention of Sharpies.
Yeah, right. Um, so anyway, all
Look
of
at this.
these charming letters from him, they're funny, and he just has a whole lot of funny things to say. Um, and a lot of them have drawings on them. So let's see if I can find that little pile again.
I got Jose El Lobo on the screen
Oh,
right
good, you
now.
have him. That's right.
He's
He
got a
wanted,
nice hiney. It looks
Yeah.
like that runs in the family too.
yeah, here's Joe. So he liked calling himself Jose, and Lobo is a wolf. So he was a kind of a lech, I think, which was not as bad a thing in the old days as it is now for the boys, or I think it was probably just as bad for the girls. But there's that
Honey.
snowman. Oh, and this one is funny because he's talking about the difference between the Army and the Navy is that one of them gets furlough, gets 12 days a month, and the other gets furlough once every 12 years. So the Army guy with the long white beard is is the one who had to wait 12 years for a little furlough. Um, so he was always kind of a funny guy, and he went on the radio. That's where they really called him Joe Twerp, and said funny things. And he was in a whole bunch of movies, but he only had bit parts. So yeah, thank you, Heather. These are all
This
movies.
is some of them. There were
Yeah,
more. And he was in Porky Pig. And I
yeah.
think, didn't you say he's not Porky Pig? But I couldn't figure out which one he was. You might be able to recognize his voice. They're just 7-minute little films.
Oh, you did.
So I found, you can find the Porky Pig films on a website, and maybe you could identify where he is in them.
Oh,
I
so
tried
Steph,
watching in old Chicago and finding the picture, but I couldn't find it in the
thank you,
quick
Heather.
time I found.
Yeah.
I want to watch The Gay Bride.
Yeah. Um, it used to be online that they would tell me where in the film he was, and I could forward it just to the little brief pieces that he was in. Um, but he was pretty famous, and I have a newspaper clipping here that was pretty cute. He married a woman named Doris, and she had two sisters, one who lived in Florida and one in Wisconsin, and they were watching television. And have you ever heard of Groucho Marx? Maybe Harrison has it. Well, he was an old time comedian, and Joe was invited to be on his first show. It was called Tell It to Groucho, and it was a competition, and he won $500 on that show, which is a lot of money in the 40s. Um, but these two sisters, well, one of them saw this on the TV and told her sister, and she said, "Isn't that the guy that our sister married?" And then they called their parents. The parents had met him, and they said, "That's the guy." So they found him and were proud to be related. And at one point, Lita bought him a manicure set for a present for his birthday. And when she bought it at the store, she asked the woman if the woman would engrave his name on it. And the woman said, we just don't do that overnight. We are too busy to do that. And then Lita dropped Joe's name and said, well, you know how Joe Twerp is. He would have loved that. And the girl said, "Are you talking about this going to Joe Twerp?" And Lita said, "Yeah, he's my son." And she said, "I watched him every night, or listened to him every night. I don't know when the radio and the TV were going." She said, "I miss him, and I've been wondering where he is." So she said, "I can fix that for you in 20 minutes." That was pretty cute, I thought. Um, so we did all of those pictures. Um, but he was in special services in the Army. So he did training, he learned how to be a good sharpshooter, but I don't know how much he was on in the war fighting because his job was in special services and he put on shows for the soldiers to keep their morale up. And they would invite a big movie star in. One that I read about with James Cagney. He's like way before even our time.
Maybe before our time. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, but someone like that or Maurice Chevalier or somebody would show up and they do a whole show to keep the morale up of the troops. So he was pretty popular because of that. Let's see. So I'm coming to an end here, although I don't really want to end on a sad note, but I do have my uncle's obituary. I really loved him. He was so much fun, and I think I showed you the first time a picture of my dad laughing with him, and I have several pictures of Joe with this deadpan look and my father's just big, huge smile. So he made he really made my dad laugh, made him happy. That's my dad. Let's see. I think it might have been there he is. That's when Joe was older, but you can see how he made my dad laugh. My dad's showing off his widow's peak too. um, but he died in LA, and the sad thing is he died alone. So they put that on the birth certificate. I mean, on these certificates too. They uh, they have found December 15th, 1980 in his home. So he had a lot of joy in his life, but his income was up and down. That's how show business is. Um, but everybody who knew him was glad to see him, especially my dad, I think. So then I think I put on one last picture of my dad and me. Is that on there?
I don't think I have that here, but I can
Okay.
quickly fix that.
Oh, it's all right. I
Yeah.
just
if
I
I
might
have
have
it.
it over there on the table. I just to try to end you on a happier
I do
note.
have this picture.
Yeah, it was when we left Lindsay and moved to Camarillo to the coast. But I'm just a kid with a weird haircut. But
Adorable.
my dad and I were there. It is.
Yeah,
No,
That's a nice picture.
it
it
is.
is.
Hmm.
I'll
He
tell
was
you
proud
more.
of you.
I'll tell you more about my dad when we meet again. So it didn't take too long because I was hoping maybe you had questions or thought, oh, there's a nodding head.
Yes, Justin has been waiting and waiting to ask some questions.
Uh-oh.
I have a comment. Hang on, let me get back to the page. So
Can you see it?
I did a quick Google search and I came up with Joe Twerp.
Uh-huh.
And there's trivia with it. He was considered for the role of Doc in the Walt Disney Snow White 1937.
Oh,
Roy Atwell was chosen to supply the voice instead, but he was in the running for Doc.
oh, wow, that's good.
Yeah,
Thank
quite a few movies that were uncredited, but yeah, it's pretty amazing.
you. Well, thanks for that, Justin.
Yeah, I
Let's,
think a project would be to look at I think the films that I found are the main ones, but it looks like he was in a lot of Porky Pig cartoons as a background voice, but I couldn't recognize because you said he like stutters or what was
oh,
his
yeah.
style?
Oh, he twisted words around. He'd say like, well, many think'll peep so, that sort of thing. And he could just do it really fast and ongoing and that sort of thing. And I think I told you that Harrison wasn't there, that he said, I never tell a off-color joke because once you do that, that's what people listen for and that's what they laugh for. So I just keep it really clean. But well, he might have had a different interpretation of clean when I look at some of his drawings.
I wanted to pull up that picture that you had mentioned. I think I can.
You're so good at this.
Well, it's not going to be great filmography, but we can get some things up on the screen fast here. Yeah, so this is him in the Chicago
yeah.
movie, right?
But he's not, I don't think either one of those is him.
Oh, this one is the picture that comes up when you look at the cast for this movie. He
Okay.
comes up in it, and this I think it's him.
That is, okay, I didn't understand that because
Yeah.
that is the one where this man is in a dreadful hurry and needs information and the part my uncle played, the guy could not get his words out very fast, and this is driving this guy crazy. So it might not be politically correct anymore,
Probably not.
but it was really funny because this guy is just freaking out. And
I think that's towards the end of the film. I was looking for this guy, but I found the guy in the hat, but then he had a huge role, so that I gave up. But I think I could actually go back to
he
that
just doesn't look
final.
like my uncle to me, but I know there was a place where my uncle, I thought it was my uncle was at the door talking to somebody to hurry.
Mhm.
But that's been 2 decades ago or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
well, thank you.
Let me see if maybe I should stop my live.